That's where we're at. We didn't ask for it. It's not fair. It's what we're born into. That's the reality in which we exist. I think there's a really good quote that Gandalf tells Frodo about that.
I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened.
So do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us.
Yeah, it's just we got to do what we got to do, you know. So hi, here's me. Welcome everybody. Before we get started, please hit the like and the subscribe and the commenty thing and the share thing. Why not do that, you know? So we're going to be reviewing a comic book. It's called 1/6. What if the attack on the U.S. Capitol succeeded? And the more you look at it, the more compelling it becomes. You see some feet dangling there. If you know about one of the things that they were chanting at that riot, you probably have an idea who that was, who that's meant to be. And then you got your Proud Boys and your your QAnoners and stuff like that. And so this is 1/6. I just finished reading it this morning. It is just one issue so far. I'm not even sure when the second issue is supposed to come out or anything. I need to look into it more. But it seems like it's going to be a series. I hope so. So whenever I got it, I was thinking, yeah, exactly. They had the gallows ready. Exactly. That wasn't a prop. You know what I mean? Like if they would have gotten to him, they would have gotten to him. No, they didn't have a plan. You're right. I don't know why. I mean, they didn't have a plan. That doesn't mean that not to take it seriously. And it doesn't mean that, like, let's say that Trump had not, after a few hours, told them to chill out and go home or whatever. Let's say he'd not done that. Or let's say they'd managed to, even if they didn't have a plan, they managed to get through to, the lawmakers and do some violence on, against them. That could have created a situation that would have perpetuated into further, you don't know what could have happened even despite them not having a plan. I wouldn't write it off. Yeah, and it takes place, I'm not sure exactly how long. It's definitely at least a year, probably several years since January 6th, 2021, except in this reality, in this multiverse reality, they were successful. And I assume we're going to learn more detail as it goes along, the more issues come out, how they were successful. But nonetheless, I was not expecting this to be very good, to be honest. I was like, that's interesting. It'll be a novelty. And I just kind of want to, almost out of curiosity, want to see what they say. And if I haven't made it clear already, this comic book is not in favor of them having been successful. Okay, this comic book is very much against the idea of them having been successful. So it's not what if, as in like fantasy. Just imagine if we'd have won, boys. It's what if, as in, we're lucky they didn't. Who made this? Sorry, it's Gan Golan, I think is the name, and Alan Jenkins. Alan Jenkins is a Harvard Law School professor, and Gan Golan, or Gon maybe, is a best-selling graphic novelist for the New York Times, or New York Times best-selling graphic novelist. I don't know what he's done before. They teamed up with a veteran comic book artist, Will Rosado, to depict in chilling detail what the insurrectionists and their allies had planned on that day, the threats to our democracy that remain, and what can be done about it. Colorist Lee Loffridge and letterer Tom man, they're really putting me through the ringer on these last names. Orzechowski. Round out the creative team with additional art by Sean Martinborough, Jamal Eagle, Alex Alberdry, and others. So it actually comes with an education and action guide, which I believe is at the end of the issue through a QR code, which I'll show you guys that. I think you should be able to scan it from your screens, maybe. But if you have Kindle Unlimited, by the way, you can read this for free right now. Yeah, he's the one that I knew. Where have I seen his name before, right? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily true, because I mean, a civil war, so to speak, would not be anything like what it was. That Black, okay, yeah, that's right. Yes, his name's not even on the cover. Yeah, he did the Black comic. It's a good comic, good book. I don't know, just because I mean, we're not split down the middle, right? Like there's not a north and a south. There's just like you and then who knows which neighbors. It would be a much more chaotic thing if ever, if a whole bunch of conservatives all of a sudden, decided we're gonna take it to the liberals now or whatever. You don't even know where they'd be coming from, what direction, who, you know what I mean? It'd be chaotic. He also did the Supergirl run with Sterling Gates. Good to know. Yeah, I didn't even realize he was part of this until reading that just now on Amazon. Nonetheless, you can read this for free if you have Amazon Unlimited. Though I'm not fucking promoting Amazon. It's just, it is what it is. So yeah, Volume 1. Remember This Day Forever. And it starts off, for one thing, the art is very, very good. Wasn't expecting that. It's fucking good. It kind of reminds me a bit of like, if you've ever read Why the Last Man, kind of reminds me of that art a bit. Yeah, and it starts off with a woman kind of leaving a voice note to, I guess, her children. Yeah, and she's basically leaving voice notes to her kids. She's clearly on some kind of mission to do something. You got drones whirring overhead, right? Very good art, very, very good. And then you get to this page, and that's where you start to see a lot of the real changes. So you've got this golden statue of Trump, and he's got a holy Bible with the T on it. And what's crazy about this, reading it, was like some of this stuff is absurd. Like the way the world is depicting, like how things are different, but then also it's kind of like not unrealistic when we think about who Trump is, what he, the things he said, the way that he presented himself, and so like you got like tanks with golden T's on them. Do you think that's really super far out of the realm of reality if Trump were to, become the fucking dictator kind of thing? I don't. Do you think a gold statue of him, like it seems like farcical. It seems like it's just kind of poking fun at Trump, but it's also, that's kind of who he is. And then then you have the drones are blaring a message saying, calling on all patriots to stamp out the Antifa menace. Also, not unrealistic at all in this world, right? Like, and then there's little moments that are a little bit like, okay, that was kind of a little too cutesy, maybe. But like, where he says, I expect to see you all at the victory rally and memorial. Honor our heroes. It's going to be bigly. That's just kind of like a little, I mean, as far as I know, he only said bigly a few times that I really remember, not to defend the guy or anything, but still, it's fine. Not a knock against the comic. So yeah, then you last see her, she's kind of going after this drone. And then it goes over to this journalist at a news station, and he's vomiting. So probably some good things happening there. Basically, he has found some kind of information that shows that proves definitively that Trump lost the 2020 election. Because at this point, whatever has happened differently in this reality, I guess he was able to establish the big lie as like the official narrative, right? Like that, okay, so it was actually Trump that won, and people claiming Biden won are the real liars kind of thing. And so then he's got this information. He's going to, he goes and gives it to the anchor before the show goes live. And somehow the feds figured it out. And there they come in to shut it down. This under authority of Fair and Balanced Media Act of 2021. Fair and Balanced, where have I heard that? This network has been declared an enemy of freedom. And it's like, again, it's like absurd and farcical, but also not it's kind of what I would expect from a Trump dictatorship kind of thing. And then here's like the program director, maybe the editor, telling them, no, we're not going to shut it down. We're going to, stay on the air or whatever. And he tells this guy, "You ever heard of the First Amendment?" And the soldier says, "Sure, traitor. You ever heard of the Second?" Clever. And then he guns him down. You know, and honestly, I don't know that. Tell me what you guys think. Like, do you think that it would have become something like this within a couple of years, or what? Like, is there anybody that believes that if Trump had managed to secure the narrative that he won actually, and he somehow managed to stay in power despite, you know, evidence and whatnot, I don't know. Do you think that things would have just stayed the same, or would things have changed? Yeah, the art is really, really good, man. Like, I honestly wasn't expecting it. Dark Angel vibes. Oh, I haven't watched that in so long. I don't remember the premise. Anyway, so the guy that has the information, the evidence, he manages to escape after he gets on video. Them shooting down the workers at the news station. Manages to get the F out of there. They install their own anchor. And then he manages to upload the info to, I guess, the cloud secure spot, and destroys his phone. And then he's just kind of like, now what? And then you see back here in the background, you got a Confederate flag right behind. I'm guessing that's still Lincoln, but that's a weird image, you know. Continues to get good, but also kind of disturbing. So here's the National Mall. And then here's this guy. He's in a MAGA hat, and he's got some stuff about his son. He lost his only son during the January 6th insurrection. Who, I guess he was a Trump guy that got killed or whatever. And he's just coming to pay his respects for his son's sake. And this is really probably the most interesting part of the comic to me is, right? People who fucking believe this shit, like about Trump having won the election and stuff, they're fucking deranged, dude. I agree. I'm guessing he's actually probably a troll, and he's probably not willing to come onto the stream in a little while and have a conversation with me. He just wants to take little swipes in the comments. We'll let him do that. We'll let him show how big of a pussy he is. So yeah, this guy is he's mourning his son. He wants to lay these this memorabilia, I guess, for his son down. Then you get this guy. I'm not quite sure who he's meant to be, but he says, "Damn straight, I want to welcome the militia regiments that have turned out from around the country, especially Georgia and Arizona, where they cleaned out the state house using their God-given Second Amendment rights." So that just goes to show how this Second Amendment thing is being, manipulated by Second Amendment folks. That just having a Second Amendment means that you can just decide to, I don't know, annihilate your fucking your lawmakers and representatives, I guess. And then this guy says, "Michigan's next, brother." And so they're unveiling a statue for the new Independence Day, which is January 6th, 2021. Got a new Independence Day. And then here's the statue. You got the QAnon shaman with the Trump Bible. And, and I mean, it's absurd, again, to think that the QAnon shaman would become a symbol for them. But at the same time, he was very visible. He's very recognizable. So, like, if they had won, who's to say that they wouldn't have just chosen him for the, as their icon, pro icon, right? Very possible. And then here's this guy. He's like, "Yes, we're here to honor your sacrifice, Travis." That's what this guy's thinking. He's honoring his son's sacrifice, who died trying to win the day, or apparently succeeding. And then here he says that so many of their patriot brethren on that day were killed by Antifa forces, right? And this guy's like, "What?" And then they were reinforced by those thugs and criminals from Black Lives Matter. And then they says, "And those animals hung our vice president." And that's probably the moment we're reading this, and I kind of got a little bit of a chill, because that's exactly what they would have done, right? like if they had succeeded and they'd actually hung Mike Pence, which they were clearly trying to do, wanting to do, they wouldn't have taken the credit for it. No, they would have done it and then blamed it on the left, right? Like, why would they hang their own vice president? They would have used Mike Pence as a fucking, like a symbol going forward, despite the fact that they would have been the ones to have killed him. Something with even less taste. Yeah. And then they're like, death to Antifa, blood and soil, I will not be replaced. And yeah, remember this day forever. And then the guy, the dad there, that, you know, he's a MAGA guy, but he's there for his son. And he's like, but that's not what happened. Because he, you know, apparently knows what happened, and they're trying to reframe history because that's what fascists do. And he's like, hey, that's not what happened. I was there. That's not what happened. My son was killed by. And then they're all like, shut him up. You must be one of them. Antifa traitor, Antifa traitor, infiltrator. I bet he's wearing a wire. Check him, so on and so forth. And, you know, they kick him out of there, basically. This guy, who's in favor of Trump and whatnot, like, so you have to think that was the most thought-provoking part of this issue to me, is this guy. Like, people who are glad that, you know, that Trump continued to be president despite, you know, the coup. But then they find themselves at personal odds with the message of the administration, right? That's just kind of compelling. And I'm curious where his story is going to go. I mean, I kind of have a guess, but yeah. And then you get back to this cell of resistance folks, and they end up having the electoral college ballots. And that's how the issue ends. Is they managed to snag those, and I mean, I skipped a bunch, so I didn't want to just show you the whole issue. But yeah, that's how it ends. Is the people that are kind of working in stealth against, you know, fascism. They found the Democratic or the electoral college ballots, and right before that, by the way, they ran into that old MAGA guy that we just looked at. He encountered them, so I imagine he's going to, you know, not necessarily join up with them, but maybe eventually they'll win him over and help him see reason. Who knows? I'm looking forward to the next issue. I am definitely going to buy the trade when it comes out, assuming they put one out. So yeah, next, how did we get here? So yeah, issue 2 is apparently going to be the one that tells us how we got to that point. It's a good way to do it, to open up with the first issue being, we're already in this situation. Here's what it's like. And then kind of go back and yeah. There we go. That is 1/6. It's what comics are for. To tell, you know, it's hard to get certain perspectives and messages told via, you know, a lot of mainstream stuff sometimes. But like, anybody can make a comic book. The history of comic books, superhero comics in particular, but, you know, and therefore kind of comic books in general, because superhero comics are what have, whether you like them or not, they've carried the medium forward through time. Not to say that comics wouldn't exist if there were no superhero comics or whatever, but, you know, that's what kept them in popular consciousness. Superhero comics have always been anti-fascist, always. With the first superhero being Superman, and he wasn't, at least, you know, and I covered some of that, you know, in my video about Superman in those first issues, that early era, and as well as like how Siegel and Schuster were screwed over. He was very much pro working class. He, you know, busted people out of a prison where the warden was like working them as slaves, essentially. You know, he beat up a shitty landlord who was, you know, exploiting people. He was a man of the people, Superman. Of course, he was much less powerful, so like, he can't go around punching landlords anymore, or he would just like turn their heads to dust. Look, if you've been following this channel for a long time, you shouldn't be surprised that this is, you know, something I'm covering, because I literally the first video I made was with a Captain America avatar. The second video I made was with a Captain America avatar. The third video I made was with a Captain America helmet. And I fucking did that for quite a while. And that was always with the intention of, the fact that I saw people, like I would see MAGA people and whatnot carrying Captain America shields and stuff like that. And I saw, like, I got really concerned that they were going to do what they'd done with the Punisher already. And I was like, we got to have, people need to be using these symbols for the right reasons so that these people aren't able to just steal them so easily. But like, yeah, first there was Superman, 1938. Then a year later, there was Captain America. So there's definitely an interesting story behind how this came to be. Because if you know anything about it, you know that this was, what's quite a while before the U.S. actually got involved with World War II. So there's definitely some interesting context behind making the choice as a comic book company to do this. Because essentially, we think of Hitler as Hitler now, right? Like his name is synonymous with just pure evil and shit. But like then, that wasn't established as much yet, and nobody really knew as how bad the Holocaust was, or even at that point I don't know if anybody really knew what was going on. But like, so at that point you've just got an American superhero punching a head of state, on the cover of a comic. That's kind of ballsy, man. It's kind of ballsy. So here's a Ninja Turtle punching Hitler. We'll look at that issue. Here's an old Superman. This stuff is ingrained in comic books. Fascism is the enemy of our time. Okay? You need to kind of accept that fact. That is the position of this channel, and I think anybody who's been paying attention, who knows what they're paying attention to and is able to analyze it well. So it's where we're at. We didn't ask for it. It's not fair. It's what we're born into. That's the reality in which we exist. I think there's a really good quote that Gandalf tells Frodo about that.
I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened.
So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us.
Yeah, it's just we got to do what we got to do, So, question becomes: are we going to do nothing about it? Or are we going to do something about it? And no one person can do anything about it in general, but everybody, as many people as possible who care, who are able to speak out regularly, factually, loudly. That's what we need.